30 teams, 30 left fielders, let's rank them using statistics. At number 30 is Cal Mitchell for the San Diego Padres. With Juan Soto traded away, the Padres now have a pretty large hole to fill in left field, and Cal Mitchell is not going to do that. He only played 2 games in the majors last year, so I'm showing you his minor league stats. Obviously, these aren't really good numbers, and most likely, they are only going to get worse when he plays in the majors. At number 29 is JJ Bleday of the Oakland Athletics. Last year wasn't the best showing for Bleday, and I don't expect much to change. Defensively, he was below average. Offensively, he was below average. He does walk a lot, as he put up a 14% walk rate last season. He doesn't hit the ball hard. His expected numbers aren't good. He is still young at 26 years old, so there is still a chance that he has some sort of a breakthrough here. That chance, though, I think is pretty small. At number 28 is Andrew Benintendi for the Chicago White Sox. Defensively, he was a disaster last year with a first percentile fielding run value, or FRV. This means that defensively, he was giving up a lot more runs than the average player would. When you combine that with his below average offensive production, it doesn't really add up to a good player. He doesn't strike out a lot and he makes a lot of contact, but the contact is not that hard. He's good at hitting line drives. He's in the 96th percentile in sweet spot percentage, which means he doesn't hit pop-ups or ground balls. The ceiling with him is just not that high, and after last season, it's hard to put him any higher than this. At number 27, I have MJ Melendez representing the Kansas City Royals. Just like Benintendi, he's pretty bad on defense, but offensively, he does have some promising numbers. He had an average exit velocity of 93.1 miles per hour last year, which is in the 95th percentile. His barrel rate was in the 74th percentile. Barrel rate tells you how good a hitter is at hitting the ball hard and at a good launch angle, 2 things that are in complete control of the hitter. The problem with Melendez, though, is that he doesn't make contact that often, with a whiff rate in the 7th percentile. When you combine this with the fact that he's not really a good outfielder, his value doesn't look all that good for 2024. At number 26, I have Bryan De La Cruz from the Miami Marlins. The trend of bad defense and below average offense continues here with De La Cruz. A lot of people were projecting 2023 to be this guy's breakout year, but that didn't really happen. If you look at his expected numbers from 2022, he was up there with some of the big guns. 2023, however, those same stats don't look as good. The barrel rate went down, the exit velocity went down, the expected slugging went down, the expected WOBA went down. It wasn't pretty. Now, he still has an above average exit velocity and barrel rate, but it's not quite elite, and he's not generating results with it. He chases a lot of pitches, doesn't walk a lot. 2024 will probably be more of the same for Bryan De La Cruz. At number 25, I have Joey Gallo for the Washington Nationals. If you don't know already, Gallo is quite literally the definition of a 3 true outcome hitter. He has a 43% strikeout rate, a 14.5% walk rate, and a 93 miles per hour average exit velocity. He had 50 hits last year, and 21 of them were home runs. That's a pretty big percentage. The biggest thing holding him back is obviously the strikeout rate at over 40%. If you could get that down to just 35% or something like that, he would be much closer to the player he was in 2021. I don't know if that's going to happen though, which is why he's down here at number 25. At number 24 is Michael Conforto from the San Francisco Giants. He's about a league average hitter at this point. He takes walks at a good rate, but he doesn't do much else offensively to stand out. Defensively, he's going to be a little bit below average, which overall is going to make him a below average player. He's going to be 31 years old, so it's not like he's ancient or anything, but a resurgence of sorts is probably not going to happen. At number 23 is Luke Raley representing the Seattle Mariners. Last year he put up some good offensive production, but the underlying numbers suggest that he was getting lucky. He put up a 353 WOBA compared to his 327 expected WOBA. This means that his quality of contact wasn't as good as the production he was putting up. This is a pretty good sign that he's going to suffer some regression in 2024 unless he starts making better contact. A lot of the predictive models agree with that, and all of them have Raley being around league average offense-wise in 2024. The biggest problem with him is his first percentile whiff rate, meaning he doesn't make a lot of contact, he strikes out a lot, doesn't walk, and isn't anything special on defense. His best trait is his power, which is why he's up here higher than the rest of these guys at number 23. At number 22 is Austin Hayes of the Baltimore Orioles. Yes, he was an all-star last year, but that doesn't always mean he's automatically an amazing player. Hayes produced pretty well last year, but he's in the same boat as Mr. Raley. Regression is knocking at his door as his WOBA numbers are pretty similar to Raley's. He's projected to be closer to a league average hitter, maybe even below. At this point for 2024, it's not looking like he's going to repeat this season. In the second half of 2023, he put up just an 84 WRC plus compared to the 136 he put up in the first half, which if he carries that into 2024 is not going to turn out well, obviously. Defensively, though, he was an above-average defender according to fielding run value, which was what propels him up to number 22 for me, although defense in left field is not that important, so we can't get too aggressive. At number 21 is Mark Canha for the Detroit Tigers. Looking at his offensive numbers, you can see right away that he's pretty good at avoiding strikeouts and taking walks, which is a good base for a hitter. The problem is that he doesn't barrel the ball up that often. He put up just a 14th percentile barrel rate in 2023, along with a 21st percentile average exit velocity. He makes a lot of contact and gets on base a good amount. He just doesn't hit for power to go along with it. On the defensive side, he's going to be a negative. He has always been below average defensively in his career. Now, in left field, having below average defense is not the biggest deal. It's a corner outfield spot. You don't need to cover as much ground as center, and you don't need to make long throws like a right fielder does. Now, if you put a bad defender in left field, it can still hurt you a good bit. Just ask Kyle Schwarber in the Phillies. Canha is going to be 34 this year, so I don't really see him getting any better than he already is. Number 20 is Garrett Mitchell for the Milwaukee Brewers. Yelich is listed as the DH, by the way, with Chourio now in the outfield. Mitchell will play left and Frelick will play right. He's a great athlete. He runs fast. He's going to be a great defender pretty much no matter what. Offensively, he isn't the greatest, but he did produce an above average rate in a small sample last season. We don't really have too many numbers to go off of, but he's fast, he's athletic, and he has the size to develop into a power hitter at 6'3", 225. I have him at number 20. Number 19 is Jarred Kellick of the Atlanta Braves. Of course, newly acquired in the offseason, he will start for the Braves this year. He's one of those players who's hard to rank. In the minor leagues, he's amazing, he was a top 3 prospect in the entire league, but the majors, it's a different story. Last season, the overall numbers look okay, but he only had 1 month with a WRC plus above 100, and that was April. To me, this seems like he just went on a hot streak for 1 month and then kind of went back to his old self. The potential's still there, but he strikes out a lot and is inconsistent. He very well could end up being much better than this in 2024, but I can't put him any higher based on the numbers he has put up. Number 18 is another guy who's hard to rank, and that's Tyler O'Neill from the Boston Red Sox. Why is he hard to rank? Well, he was one of the best players in the league 2 years ago, and now he kind of sucks. Last season, he didn't really put out the best numbers. That season he had in 2021 is starting to look like an outlier rather than a start of a trend. That is the only season he has had above 1.3 WAR. That is the only season he has had above 100 WRC+. You might think that 2021 season was because of some luck, but it wasn't. He just started making elite contact for 1 year and then quit. The big problem for him in 2023 was the launch angle. He had a sweet spot percentage in the bottom 10 percentile. He popped up the ball way too much. He could be good if he plays a full season and gets the launch angle back in check, but he also very well could be bad again. He's only 28 years old, so a bounce back year is still very possible. Number 17 is Spencer Steer for the Cincinnati Reds. Last year, he didn't really have a spot defensively. He bounced around a lot, played a lot of first base, and he didn't really perform all that well defensively. He only played 48 games in the outfield, so we don't really know how good he'll be over a full season, but most likely he'll be average at best. Offensively is where you get excited for Spencer Steer, though. He had good production last year, but the underlying numbers aren't as good as you would like. He has an above-average chase rate to go along with his double-digit walk rate, which is a good sign for a young player. Most predictive models say that he's going to decline a little offensively, and I generally agree with that. I think he'll be a 2-WAR guy in 2024. Number 16 is Alex Verdugo for the New York Yankees. Verdugo makes a lot of contact and he hits a lot of line drives. He's been a pretty big contact hitter his entire career. His expected batting average is always pretty high, which means he makes contact that will lead to a lot of base hits. The Yankees could really use this in their lineup. I think he's a good addition to the team. He doesn't really do anything else that great, but I think he's a great fit for the Yankees and will help balance that lineup out a little bit. At number 15 is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's a balanced hitter, makes a lot of contact, hits line drives, but can also elevate the ball with some authority. One negative from his offensive side is that he chases a little too much, which leads to the low walk rate and on-base percentage. Defensively, he's pretty solid. Overall, he's pretty close to your average starter. I'd put him somewhere around 2 WAR for 2024, which is your average everyday player. At number 14, I have Taylor Ward representing the Los Angeles Angels. Availability is the main weakness for Mr. Ward, as he's only put up 1 season in his career, over 100 games. When he's playing, though, he usually produces. He's similar to Gurriel on offense in the sense that he's an all-around hitter, makes contact, hits for a little bit of power, but he walks at an above-average rate. Defensively, he's nothing special, but I would put him slightly above Gurriel because his offensive profile is a little more promising when you take into account the walk rate. At number 13 is Dalton Bar from the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm somewhat sad that Bar will not be playing center field this year since the Blue Jays brought back Kevin Kiermaier. They would get the most out of Varsho at the center field position. I don't really agree with bringing back Kevin Kiermaier, but, I'm not the GM. He's the best defender on this list, and it's not really close. If he's playing center, this defense would be a lot more valuable for obvious reasons. More ground to cover, more balls hit your way. Anything he does on offense is just a bonus. He had a solid power stroke going into 2022, but that faded away in 2023 as his barrel rate fell from the 70th percentile to the 37th percentile. His defense is elite, but that doesn't matter as much in left field. If he was in center, he probably would be ranked higher. At number 12 is Brandon Marsh for the Philadelphia Phillies. Marsh had a breakout year offensively, but don't get too excited as the numbers don't really suggest that will happen again. His WOBA was 358, while his expected WOBA was only 324. As I said before, this means that the quality of contact that he was hitting was not really up to par with the results that he was getting. I think he's going to be closer to a league average hitter this year, and that is what most of the predictive models suggest as well. Defensively, he'll still be above average, but of course defense doesn't really matter as much in left field, so Brandon Marsh is solid, but maybe not as good as the 2023 numbers suggest. At number 11 is Taha Hernandez of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's able to hit the ball hard consistently with a 91st percentile hard hit rate and an 88th percentile barrel rate in 2023. The problem for him though is the plate discipline. His chase rate is in the 13th percentile and his whiff rate is in the 3rd percentile. This means he's not taking many walks and he's not making a lot of contact. If you don't make contact, then it doesn't matter how hard you hit the ball. This plate discipline is going to cause him to be inconsistent, the on-base percentage won't be good, and he's going to strike out a lot. The power is still there though, and he will run into enough baseballs to be valuable in 2024. I think this is a pretty good move for the Dodgers. It's a pricey one, but when you're the Dodgers and you got all this money to spend, why not? Getting into the top 10, I have Matt Walner representing the Minnesota Twins. This might seem a little high, but to me, he projects as a Teoscar Hernandez that walks more. He strikes out a lot just like Hernandez, as you can see with that 31.5% strikeout rate, but he does have an 11% walk rate and an above average chase rate, which is great. In a small sample size last year, he was in the 99th percentile in barrel rate, which I don't think he will sustain over a full season, but he has shown that he can hit the ball hard consistently, just like Teoscar. Defensively, he's a little bit iffy, but not that big of a deal in left field. Number 9 is Chaz McCrary for the Houston Astros. He had a great offensive season last year. I don't expect him to maintain that, but he should still be a solid hitter with a 110, 120 WRC+. His walk and strikeout numbers aren't the best, but he does barrel up the ball often with a 73rd percentile barrel rate. He probably will be playing more games this year with Dusty Baker gone, so we'll see how his numbers shake up if he stays healthy for a full 150 game performance. Number 8 is Steven Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians. He's not going to be ripping the cover off the ball. He was in the 1st percentile in hard hit rate and barrel rate in 2023, but of course, he makes a lot of contact to make up for that. He was in the 100th percentile for whiff rate and the 98th percentile for strikeout rate. He's also really good at hitting line drives with an 88th percentile sweet spot percentage. This means that he'll be hitting a lot of singles, and that's what he did in 2023. The walk rate is solid as well, so the on-base percentage will be in pretty good shape. He also provides value on defense, as you can see with the 87th percentile fielding run value. He's not the modern day hitter, but he's still going to be very good in 2024, very reliable, very solid in left field. Number 7 is Lars Newar for the St. Louis Cardinals. The first thing that sticks out with Newar is his eye at the plate. He has a 98th percentile chase rate and a 95th percentile walk rate. He's great at getting on base. To go along with this, he had a 54th percentile barrel rate, which is not elite or anything, but is solid enough to make him a pretty valuable offensive player. You can see last year with the 118 WRC+, he was 18% better than the average hitter. He's kind of just like a store brand Juan Soto, I guess you could say. Defensively, he's good, but once again, that doesn't really matter all that much in left field. Number 6 is Evan Carter for the Texas Rangers. He's very young, he's only going to be 21 years old this year, and as you can see, he was absolutely insane in a very small sample, so you can't really take too much into that. In the minor leagues, he was putting up very good numbers in larger samples though. In 2023, he had an 863 OPS in AA and AAA. His top tool though is his speed. He can use that to his benefit on the base paths as well as in the field. The hit tool is there, he walks a lot. The power is definitely questionable. He only had 27 home runs in his minor league career. Some people are really high on him, but I think the best case for him is kind of be a Corbin Carroll light. I don't think he'll be that great in 2024, but he certainly has a bright future ahead of him, and obviously I think he's going to be pretty good. I have him at number 6. Number 5 is a guy who's in a similar boat to Carter, and that's Nolan Jones of the Colorado Rockies. Big time power guy, 94th percentile barrel rate, 89th percentile expected slugging. He also has an 88th percentile walk rate to go along with it. He does strike out a lot, but it's not awful. It's not going to ruin his offensive value like a guy named Joey Gallo, One thing I am a little concerned about is the small sample, of course, as well as the average exit velocity. He was only in the 66th percentile in the exit velocity department, which is not the best sign for a guy of this archetype. You want that number to be a little bit higher since this guy's a power hitter. On the positive note, though, he has the best arm in the league. I would put him in right field if I were the Rockies. They have Hunter Goodman listed there as of now, according to Fangraphs, which doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not a Rockies fan, so I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that is something to consider. Number 4 is Bryan Reynolds from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's the best all-around hitter on this list so far. He doesn't really have a weakness on offense. The walk and strikeout numbers are pretty close to average. He hits the ball hard consistently, has an 81st percentile hard hit rate. The expected numbers are also great. 82nd percentile expected WOBA, 85th percentile expected batting average, 84th percentile expected slugging. Switch hitter, probably will find himself with another 110 to 120 WRC plus in 2024. Hits for power, hits for contact. Defensively, isn't the best thing in the world out there, but as I've said about 500 times, it's left field, doesn't matter. In 2021, this guy was a 6.0 WAR player. Is he ever going to do that again? Probably not. His defense fell off a lot, and he was also playing center field that season. Projections have him around 3 WAR for 2024, which I agree with. Number 3 is Ian Happ from the Chicago Cubs. The big thing that I liked with Happ in 2023 was the walk rate jumped from 9% all the way to 14.3%, which is in the 95th percentile. This allowed him to still be productive even though he had near career lows in batting average and slugging percentage. He is pretty similar to Reynolds, switch hitter, doesn't hit the ball as hard, but he has the on base that Reynolds doesn't. It is a toss-up for me between the two. Do you value the power? Do you value the discipline? I tend to lead towards the numbers, even as a Pirates fan myself. I'll put Happ over Reynolds. Number 2 is Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. If there was a stat that measured a player's energy or electricity that they added to a team, Randy would probably be in the top 3 in the entire league, but there isn't, so we have to look other places. Defensively, he's not good. All of his value comes from his bat. Power-oriented guy, walks a lot, hits the ball hard, 85th percentile hard hit rate, 86th percentile exit velocity. He's pretty consistent. His 3 full seasons he played in the majors, he's put up a WRC plus of 127, 124, and 126. He will probably be right around there again for 2024, as he's only 29 years old, so most likely he'll just stick to what he's been doing. Finally, at number 1, it is Brandon Nimmo representing the New York Mets. With Bader moving into center field, Nimmo will now play a corner spot. Fangraphs has him playing left, Starling Marte in right. This was the easiest decision in this ranking for me. In seasons that he played over 100 games, which he has 3 times, his lowest WRC plus was 130, which was in 2023. Yeah, that's pretty good for your worst season. He walks a lot, doesn't chase, great swing decisions, and he also hits the ball hard with an average exit velocity in the 88th percentile. He plays good defense too. Moving to left field will hurt his individual value, but amongst other left fielders, he's going to be the best one, and it's not really that close in my opinion. That is the ranking. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Here's the full list if you want to review. I will see you next with the center fielders. Goodbye.